You're so good at, I constantly heard you say, this person in my organization is a this. This person in my organization is a developer. This person in my, and really understanding everybody's strengths and then really tapping into their strengths. What about you as a leader made you want to do that? Why is that such a core part of who you are?
So when I took my first assessment, my top strength was individualization. And so depending on what you're doing with work and life, your five could shift some. I have one called a ranger now. I'm a conductor. Some days I'm in finance. Some days I'm an architect. Some days I'm a trainer, you know. But I think that it's important to know what type of things make people feel extremely happy when they come to work. And so when I started my business, I wanted to make sure, like, when interns come in, they take a strength finders assessment and a saboteur assessment now. But at the beginning, for a while, we take a strength finders assessment and just finding out, is this job going to be good for them? Like, are they more of an executor? Can I put them in management? If they're more of an influencer, can I put them in sales? So honestly, at the very beginning, it was more so like, how do we, like, with being an entrepreneur, you don't always have a lot of time. And so I think psychosocial management is just a smart approach to making sure people feel safe at work and happy. When people weren't showing up sometimes, that's kind of when we started looking at other things that we could do. But that's generally the reason.
And if you just know him, that you love talking about leadership, you love talking about strength. So I'm just always curious about why that is such a big part of you. I have lots more questions, but what questions do you guys have? We have about 8 minutes.
I feel like traveling is one thing that definitely calibrates me. Reading, I used to make excuses as to why I couldn't read a book, and be so busy. But now I'm like, no, this is something that calibrates you. So I love reading. If I squeezing out the time, just read something and like just kind of have the mind develop a bit more. And stuff helps me stay creative as well. Then staying in contact with my friends. Relationships are very important to me. So I like to make my room smaller and get to know people. I am an introvert, but part of being an introvert has pressed me towards getting to know people so that I can not be as energetically drained at times. I feel like I'm speaking with my friends, for example.
So you said reading, traveling, having a small group of friends that you kind of fills you back up. And crab legs and food. What is a misconception about, you seem passionate about trauma-informed yoga. Is there any common misconceptions about that teaching, and how well do you think that's known, that concept?
I was going to say, I don't know that it's really known. I didn't know much about it outside of our partnership with Ampersand. I was a volunteer with them first. And so I also knew that after going through the certification, I didn't want to teach a yoga class until I could at least figure out how to use the language. Liz and I, we've had like a lot of conversations with regard to yoga and inclusivity. And so that's been a conversation since we pretty much, like the beginning of her working with Synergy Coach, we were like, how can we make classes, like sometimes there are certain things that are said in a yoga class that only fit a certain body type, and how do we make the language more inclusive? I think trauma-informed yoga takes it a step further with understanding like a person could be triggered and could be possibly triggered during one of those classes. So I'm not sure that a lot of people know much about it, and so hopefully trying to put that on the map a bit more.
So that could just be a misconception of what it is or not knowing it. All right, we're going to go here, then to Amy.
I think what I'm learning is that with business, there are always ways to figure out profitability. And strategies, what I've learned from having a lot of strategic thinkers around me, typically seem like it takes a lot longer. Like, gosh, we're still working on this one thing. And sitting in that and being present with just understanding, okay, this is something more strategic that will take a while, but sprinkling in the service is the only thing that's really going to keep me filled. You know, I mean, when I decided to be in health and wellness, I mean, my grandparents couldn't go to certain spaces like to train when they were young. And so their behaviors were attached to that later on. And so I'm like, I want to make sure that I try to create that accessibility within our space. I feel like that's a service. And we can figure that out too. So I think that I'm sitting in this knowing the things that are strategic, and that takes a lot more time, but also making sure I spend time. Like last weekend, we had an event at the gym, but the AKA's like, hey, come to our event. You might pick up clients. And I'm like, maybe. But I'll just come to like help out, and if that happens, great. But if not, I came to serve in the first place. So, great question. I left our contact. So if there are individuals, I know we're restarting, so we're getting ready to revamp our website. We're getting ready to, there's some people that are coming off the board, and we'll be looking, I'm sure, for individuals to help in certain areas. We have programs that we started with Resolve and that need support, like Tiffany Hayden's Human Athlete Project, for instance. She needs individuals helping her with marketing, that program, et cetera. And it's a program where we connect, so for those of you who don't know, minority athletes here in the city of Lexington, minority professionals. It's kind of creating home for both. Is to act as a program to keep people here in Lexington that are minority instead of like shooting out of here. So that's a program. But also I left the website. The Donate Now button still works, even though we're revamping everything. But if you feel led to like just kind of donate, that'll be most appreciated as well. But we're always looking for partnerships. So. And you know me, I'm always looking for a cup of coffee with the new person to talk to about what we do. So if it's of interest to you, I'll invite you to a cup of coffee. I've probably had a lot of that with some of you anyways. And then those of you I haven't, I would love to.
Well, thank you so much for today. Thank you for everything that you do. It's just amazing being in your presence and circle and hearing your wisdom, and then also hearing you saw a gap, a need in Lexington for either not having trauma-informed yoga or mentorship or small businesses. So just going forward and seeing that gap, I want to also appreciate everything that you do for the city of Lexington. So with that, let's all give a round of applause to Larry. We hope you join us at future Creative Mornings. We have our next one coming up at a really exciting location, another really exciting speaker. We will announce that on our social media and our website. And with that, my coffee vendor did have something pop up this morning. There is now coffee, so please get multiple cups of coffee on your way out. And with that, everyone is welcome. Everyone is creative. Thank you so much for being here today.